Welcome and thank you for being here today. This is a study of the scripture looking into the way how God is in love with humanity, how God is in love with mankind, that God will do anything to help us get to the other side of life, meaning to say that God will not be happy until we are part of God's community in the kingdom of heaven. So in this study, we will be looking at every chapter of the scripture and how God finds a solution to the problem that we face. Thank you for joining me today. And today we will be looking into Genesis chapter 3. And I want to call this the beginnings of God moments is what I want to say this for this particular chapter. That's because everything that God created, the flowers, the fruits, the squirrels, the lion, it doesn't matter what it is that God created. God found it to be beautiful, absolutely wonderful. And so therefore we say it is wonderful, beautiful, and good. There was no reason to be afraid of anything in the garden at all. After all, it was the garden. The place where God sent mankind was the garden, a place where all life was put together with a purpose and an order. That's why gardens look beautiful, because the purpose with which it is put together. When it was completed, it was beautiful. There was no picking and choosing for the first humans. But then God comes into the scene and gives these parents, the parents of us all, a rule. Interestingly, the first rule that becomes the key feature of human condition, the first rule that was given to mankind becomes the most beautiful feature of human condition. The rule gives them the freedom to make a choice. Humans were given permission to like and dislike, to judge and misjudge, to decide for themselves what it is that they want to do with their lives. In a way, we were given the freedom to choose for ourselves. And that was the best part of that the freedom that has been given to us. The modern world thinks the ability to choose is a sign of freedom, that our ability to choose is a sign of freedom. The number of choices we have makes us feel that we are a free people. And in Western democracy, it is considered that the freedom to choose, the epitome, or the ability to choose as the most significant part of our freedom, because we can choose what we want to be. I've heard parents tell their children that you can be what you put your mind to. The sky is the limit. You can choose whatever you want. And I do think it is an absolutely wonderful thing that we are able to do that. And so there is great joy in choosing whatever we want. However, there is the burden of responsibility in our freedom to choose. To be able to choose what we want is not a bad thing, but not to accept the consequence of our choices shows immaturity. Some people may call the consequences curses, while others might call it part of the choices we have made. When we reflect on the choices our first ancestors made to eat of the tree that was forbidden, they ate of the tree that was forbidden. That was a choice they made. The only rule that they were not to break, they were told very plainly, although it was not the original intent, I do not know why that came into, we find that they chose to do what they thought was right. They suffer the consequence of their choice by being thrown out of the garden and more. Even though the story does not end there, the story doesn't end there. There was an immediate response, consequence, and an end result of their choice. And that's what we find in the chapter 3 of the book of Genesis. In the first John chapter 2 verse 16, John speaks this: the desire of the flesh, the desire of the eyes, and the pride in riches that confront us every day. The desire of the flesh, the desire of the eyes, the pride in riches, they confront us every day, and we have to make a choice. Like it or not, we have to choose what is best for us, what we believe it to be the right thing for us to choose from. It simply points to the fact that no matter what we do, in the end, every choice we make, no matter how attractive, all of them have consequences that will have to be dealt with. The consequences of our choices, we have no other way to deny it. It should and will happen. The fruit of the tree awaits us in different forms and shapes, as it did for the first parents. Just like Adam and Eve, in the story of creation, we face difficult decisions, big or small, every day. For a child, the gravity of the matter is that of the child, and for an adult, the matters are even more serious. But the decision we have to make, regardless of age or gender, that comes to us at every moment. It doesn't matter who we are. The decisions we have to make, they are confronting us at every moment. The Bible gives us a glimpse into the struggles we will go through. The story of long ago is also the story of now. The enmity between godly things and earthly things. Our choices will take us to situations that we might regret without serious thought or reflection. So it is absolutely important for us to reflect of the choices that we make or the decisions that we have in front of us. But at no point does God leave us alone, even though we make our decisions based on what we are exposed to and what in our ignorance we believe, or we believe it to be true. But we are not left alone. We will never be left alone. Even though one might feel cursed by the consequences, maybe that's a word, that's a choice that some people say. I'm cursed by what I've done. The consequence of a choice made. That's what we find in Genesis chapter 3 verse 17. We will soon find out we are not left alone to figure out a solution by ourselves. We will figure that out, and that's most comforting, that we are not alone in the journey that we are on. We are assured again and again that with the angels and the solutions on our side, with the angels and God's grace on our side, we will win the battle in the end. In the book of Revelation, chapter 12 verse, it says, "It is revealed that we will not fight this battle by ourselves." We are not alone in the story, but with the angels designated for the task and with us. In the end of Genesis, we find the incredible freedom we are given and how everything we do comes with a consequence. If we are true to God, even the worst choice we make is not the end of it all. Even if the choices we have made is the worst, that still is not the end of it at all. There is more to live, far beyond the worst endings we have conjured up in our limited knowledge. The end result of our choices can still be the beginnings of God moments. The end result of our choices, good or bad, they are still, and they can still be, and they still will be the beginnings of God moments. So, in this struggle that we have, what is God's solution to the problem of choices that we have? Or what kind of a solution does God offer to us at this time? Whatever ends badly, remember this, whatever ends badly, God can turn it around and make it better. His solution to the wrong choices we make is to make them part of God's plan. Even if we make the wrong choices, God is powerful enough to make our wrong choices as part of divine plan. But of course, we need to cooperate with the changed attitude in here. In saying all things work together for good to them that love God. So the condition is this, that we love God. That one little piece of us loving God changes everything. Paul helps us understand this very principle in Romans chapter 8. God's solution to man's wrong choices is simply to be creative with a new situation that we will have to face. We will be given another opportunity to right the wrong and do better with God's help. Thank you for joining me today. And the story of Genesis chapter 3 is a story of choices given to us. And not to be disappointed with the failures or the mistakes or the wrong choices we have made, but to remember, even at the end of the worst choice we have made, God may be just beginning the best part of our life. Life is not over just because we have made the wrong choice or we have done the wrong thing. But to remember one thing and one thing only, for those who love God. That's a key verse to remember in here, in these choices that we are given, as we see that was given to Adam and Eve and to every human being beyond that day, or in the story, the first person, first human. It doesn't matter who existed, who did not exist. If God has given us that choice, God has given us the grace to get through the hardest moment or the hardest choices we make. That's what I want to invite you to. Thank you for joining me today to study Genesis chapter 3. And God bless.